evening, my friends. It is Jessica. This is I Read to Relax, and I am here with my December 2025 wrap-up. Welcome if you're new to the channel, and welcome back if you've been here before. I'm happy to chat with you anytime about books. So let's jump right in. In the month of December, I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 books. 4 of which were novellas. Sorry, I'm referencing my little notes here. It was a good reading month. It was, I mean, it always feels short because you have the holidays and everything, so it is what it is. But I did enjoy what I read, so let's talk about it. A lot of it was on or audiobook, so I'm just actually gonna put, I think, all of the covers up here, rather than trying to pull out the few that I did have in physical format and get into all of that. So I will show things here. Let's jump in. Starting the month off, I was listening to the audiobook, Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman. So my husband convinced me to give this series a try, and I'm really glad. It is a very bleak, post-apocalyptic storyline. But even though it is this scenario where the world has been invaded by aliens and they're now forcing the remaining human survivors to compete in this like video game style labyrinth until they're all dead, essentially. Even though it's that horrifying scenario, the characters are written in such a way and the story is told in such a way that there's such an element of humor that just runs all the way through. So it is just like alternating these moments of like, oh my God, with, oh my God. And Carl, our main character, and his ex-girlfriend's cat Donut is the other main character. They're just amazing. I love this duo. I love seeing how they interact with each other. And the audiobook, and I'm now listening to audiobook too, but the audiobooks are phenomenal. The narrator, Jeff Hayes, does different voices for all the different characters, and it's just fantastic. So really enjoyed this start to this series. Like I said, I'm also listening to book 2 now in January and really enjoying that one. So I'm hoping that the entire series continues to be that good. But that was a great way to sort of kick off the month of December. The first actual like ebook that I read in December was Live and Let Ride by Lucia Ashta, and this is the last book. The series is Ridgemore, and it's a really, really great trilogy, urban fantasy, sort of like if Stranger Things featured college-age kids. So a darker, grittier, slightly spicier version of Stranger Things. But they're phenomenal. I love the found family in this book series. I love the group of main characters, and they're shorter novels, and I ripped through each one of them. So like I said, this is book 3, so I can't really give you a lot of detail, but it is a group of friends who find out that they are not quite the average human. And they have a dog sidekick too, which I just absolutely love. But they are, like I said, it's gritty, it's fast-paced, it's slightly spicy. It's like candy. When I read these books, I just gobble them up. So good. I loved the way the series ended. So that was another great start to the month. Then I let this book unfold throughout the month of December. I read A Heart for Christmas, which was an Advent book. So this one was set up so that literally you tore open a new chapter each day of the month, which was a really, really fun experience. I really, really enjoyed reading the chapter every day and getting to do like reactions to it. I actually put together an entire reaction video, fully spoilered, so if you don't want to know what happens, don't watch it, but it was fun to like react to each chapter as the month went on. I didn't really enjoy the book itself. I did not enjoy the plot. I did not enjoy the characters. That was a little painful. But like I said, I loved the experience, so I'm trying to figure out if I could actually set this up for myself next year, like pick a book that had approximately 24 chapters or whatever, and just have myself read it in the same little bite-sized way so that it unfolded through the month of December. I think that could be really fun. So we'll think about that. And then I also let this novella unfold through the month of December. It took a lot longer to read than I ever expected it would, because I really struggled with it, and it was This Is How You Lose the Time War. I'd heard such great things about this novella, and I really went into it thinking I was gonna love it. I also did a rapid reviews video for this one, so you can see a little more of my thoughts if you want to check that one out. But the long and short of it is, every individual chapter of this novella, I think, is really beautifully written and its own little masterpiece of literature. And conceptually, I should have really liked this novella, but I could not get into the way that it was unfolding. I didn't feel invested in how the story was coming together. And I just didn't like it. I just didn't like it overall. And like I said, it had so many elements I really thought were going to appeal to me that it was really, really disappointing that it didn't. So I think that's one of my biggest disappointments of the whole year, honestly. And it's kind of sad to say it, but I really struggled with this one. So that was a bummer. The next novella that I read was A Pack Christmas, and this one was okay. It's sort of a cute little Christmas novella that wraps up a bunch of different series by this author. So like the series all happen in the same world with different characters, and they start to interact sort of like as the world progresses. And this little novella brings a lot of them together to celebrate Christmas. I haven't read all of the series, so I definitely was missing like a few of the characters. I didn't really know who they were, but that's okay. It was cute how they interacted. It just wasn't anything special. It was okay. I'm glad I read it. Now I can take it out of my physical TBR. Then the next novella that I read, I loved. So this one is An Archive of Romance by Ava Reed, which is the companion novella to A Study in Drowning and A Theory of Dreaming. A Study in Drowning was my #1 absolute favorite book of the entire year. A Theory in Dreaming didn't quite hit me the same way, but I really still found the writing really beautiful, and I liked the way it ended the duology. The Archive of Romance gives you sort of bits and pieces of the things they talked about in the first 2 books, like letters and like diary entries and things that were referenced. Like the author actually fleshed that out, which is so interesting. I love that. And then there's a snippet at the end that actually progresses the story even further. So I loved that. That was great. And it's got, like, like I said, pictures, and it's supposed to feel multimedia, and it's really great. So I'm really glad that I got this one and added that to my collection as well. And then another one of my favorite books of the month and probably the year was The Book Club Hotel by Sarah Morgan. And I read like 2 Christmas novels every year. I read a Sarah Morgan novel and I read a Deanna Chase novel. And this was the Sarah Morgan one that I chose this year. I am so glad that I read it. It is about 4 women that get brought together at this inn. One is the owner, and 3 are friends who book a trip there. And it's just how each of them is going through sort of like this crisis moment in their lives, and how through knowing each other and having their problems come up and being able to sort of talk through it and lean on each other, they're able to sort of push through. And, you know, it's a Christmas novel. Things work out in the end. But the process of getting there is just so lovely, and she does such a great job. And I love that they're Christmas novels, but they're not like Hallmark novels. They are deeper. Like, there's always a huge friendship component or a family component. And like I said, it's very emotionally satisfying. Listen to this one as an audiobook, but I immediately bought a copy so that I can have it on my shelf and read it again in the future. Because I loved it that much. So I really recommend that one. Then I also, because it was like right at Christmas, I tossed in I called it a novella, but it's really more of a short story. No, maybe it's a baby novella. It's a baby novella. But it was all wrapped up in you. And it's by an author who I had just read one of her books, Rosie Danan, earlier in the year, and I really liked it. So when I saw that she wrote this little cheeky little novella, I decided I would give it a shot, and I really am glad that I did, because it was just fun. It was cute. It's neighbors who don't know each other, but they've been communicating. So it's kind of like that, you know, anonymous letters trope, except they're like texting. And they're crushing on each other without knowing anything about the other one. And then, you know, fate sort of brings them together, and then they realize that it's each other, and then, you know, love unfolds. And it was just so cute. So I was really glad I read that one. And then I read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. But I read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and I'm really, really glad that I finally read it. And I really, really liked the writing style. Really beautiful. And I really, really enjoyed the themes of the book. You know, questioning, like, what does it mean to be remembered by people? What does it mean to want freedom? What does it mean to want to be what other people need, what they want? And then, like, what would you be willing to give to get some of those things? So I loved those questions and the way that things were like interpreted by the author and how they unfolded. I really struggled though with the ending of this book, and I just was not really satisfied with how things unfolded. It's meant to almost be like a fiercely independent and hopeful moment, and yet it didn't really feel that way to me. It just ended up feeling kind of like revenge porny. I don't know how to fully articulate what I feel without spoiling things. And I know the book's been out for a long time, but there's a lot of people that still haven't read it, so I don't want to like blurt out the end. But I just have conflicted feelings about the ending of the book. So I had fully anticipated that this one would be like a stellar 5-star read, and like it started out that way in the beginning, and then as the book went on, I just kind of started to waver in how I was feeling about it. So, it ended up being like maybe a 4-star for me, but I had wanted a lot more out of it, so that's okay. I am really, really glad I finally read it because my brother gave that book to me for Christmas at least 3 years ago, and I just had not read it, so it was time. And then my very last book in December was the other Christmas novel that I always read is from this series, The Witches of Christmas Grove by Deanna Chase. So this year's was A Witch for Mr. Bell. And they are Hallmark movies with magic. They are just a little Christmas snacky snack, a little magical romance, and every year it's just a really good, feel-good, quick, satisfying little read. I usually end up reading these because they come out like on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. I usually read them like in one day right after Christmas, and it's just such a nice way to sort of wrap up the holiday. So this one was cute. I mean, there's a magical sleigh ride, there's enchanted Christmas fairies in the trees, they are trying to save a literal like tree farm. It's just, it was very cute. The romance is always good. So yeah, that was a cute little way, like I said, to end sort of the Christmas holiday season. So that was my December. I mean, it had some highs and it had some lows. Like I said, two of the books I thought I was gonna enjoy the most were ones that I really didn't, and that was surprising more than anything else. But yeah, I mean, even though there were some disappointments, I read a lot of things that I was really glad I finally read. So that's always a great, satisfying feeling. And it was a nice way to end the year. So now we're just looking forward and seeing how 2026 is gonna treat us. January's going good so far, but you'll hear more about that at the end of this month. So if you are still watching, and I hope that you are, drop me your favorite book of December in the comments, and if it's something I haven't read yet, it will probably get added to my gigantic TBR list, the never-ending TBR. But yeah, I hope you had a great reading month in December, and I hope January treats you well. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!